So today we're sitting down with Sarah of DAmbra Photography. She is going to tell us a little bit about herself and weddings on the Outer Banks.
Yeah. Well, I'm Sarah. I've been shooting weddings on the Outer Banks since 2011. I joined DAmbra in like 2012, so somewhere around 10-ish years, about a decade, which is crazy because I don't feel that old. I don't feel like I've been doing weddings for 10 years when someone asks me that.
Hard to believe.
It really is. My counterpart and the person who shoots with me 99% of the time is my sister Madeline. She's not here today though. So she shoots with me. We do a variety of weddings and other family sessions, but mostly weddings.
And this is Sarah's baby.
This is my child.
Who I've commandeered for today's segment.
Her name is Fjord Lace.
She's beautiful.
She's only 3 months old.
So I'm taking advantage of holding her while we interview Sarah.
Perfect.
Okay, so you're born and raised here.
Was not born here.
Where were you born?
Raleigh. But I have lived here since I was 9, and I'm 32 now. So do the math.
So she's
I've grown up here. I'm a local.
She's a local.
Grew up in Manio specifically, and I live here. My husband and I bought our house here, and now we have a little family here.
So we were talking about places outside of the Outer Banks that you've shot. What's one of the most, like, have you done weddings outside of the Outer Banks? Like, do you travel for weddings? What's the coolest place you've been to?
Oh, there's so many places I want to go to. But
we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
I would love to shoot any type of engagement, proposal, and or wedding in Paris. That's like on my must-do list.
Yeah.
Paris is like my favorite city in the world. I've been 3 times, and I'm ready to go back and take her. But I'd really love to do work out there. I have been to the Pacific Northwest to shoot weddings. I've been in more southern parts of North Carolina, in Wilmington, and that area to shoot weddings. Last summer we did an engagement session in New York City, which was really cool. And I love that because I got married in New York and I love New York City. Yeah, those are some of the places I've been. I would say New York would be my favorite. New York is my favorite place to shoot.
Yeah.
It's a cool.
And you got married in New York. So that definitely holds a place for you. Mm-hmm. So has Madeline always been like your counterpart? Like, you always?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I think my first year I would just hire a random person, another person within the wedding industry that could second shoot for me. But at the time, she was phasing out of one job and joining me, and it just worked out to where I, can have her alongside me.
I'm gonna walk with Fjord for a second, guys.
That's fine. Or I can take her.
No. No, we don't do that. Yeah, so what are some of your favorite wedding trends, or what do you see coming soon?
My favorite, I love a wedding with good florals. I think it makes pictures so much more vibrant and beautiful. A good floral bouquet or a good boutonniere or any type of floral thing for brides, grooms, bridesmaids to carry is, I think, awesome. I love any type of unique uplighting at a wedding reception. I love Edison lights. I love we have Philips Hue lights in our home, but I love the idea of having multiple colors around. Anything tropical, I like. Obviously, I'm a plant hoarder. I have a real plant addiction.
We love it. She got me hooked on plants.
Sorry, my living room is a disaster. It's never like this, I swear. But yeah, so I love anything plant. I'd love to do a wedding for maybe a professional landscaper or someone who does that, where they could have their inside of their white tent be a total
greenhouse
showroom
almost?
landscape, which I think would be neat. I have done some portraits in a greenhouse a couple times. Those are always really cool. So that's kind of my favorite.
What about things that you're not into at the moment? Things that you want to see gone?
Donuts.
Donuts?
Donuts.
Over donuts. And
Sorry about it. I don't think donuts are going anywhere for a while.
Love donuts. I love to eat them, but I'm over them at weddings. That's just my.
I don't think that's
2
going
cents.
on. People love Duck Donuts, guys. Do you think it's important for a bride to have a styling kit, basically, to bring?
I would say if the budget's
couple
not there, just stick with the bridal bouquet, because we can do without bridesmaids having bouquets, and you can always replace other items. on your tablescapes that are non-floral that are just as beautiful.
Yeah.
But if the budget's not there for good florals, I would say definitely invest the budget that you do have for the bride's bouquet or the groom's boutonniere or whatever they're going to be holding together, and then the rest can be done without, because you can always, especially when you're posting bridesmaids or even men, a lot of times I put men's hands in their pockets, so they obviously don't have to hold anything. But bridesmaids, I can usually like fold together in a line and like have one hand here and like one on the other arm, and they can kind of like,
yes, it's not obvious.
so it's not obvious that they're just
flowers
sitting there with their
aren't
arms dangling down. So
Yeah.
like if the budget is like hit or miss for florals, I would definitely say invest in at least one good bridal bouquet.
Yeah, because that'll be in like 90% of your photos.
Yeah, exactly.
whereas-
And you can also repurpose it as your sweetheart table
Yeah.
decoration. If you do decide to give everyone in the wedding party a bouquet, you can replace that with, you can double purpose those on the tables as well.
Yeah, for
That
centerpieces
definitely helps.
too. Yeah, so are there any things that you aren't into at weddings, like trends that you don't love, or like anything that you would like tell people that like it's not the best thing from like a vendor perspective?
Yeah, I would definitely say if you're gonna have children at your wedding, whether they're in the wedding party or whether they're just there as attending guests, absolutely have some sort of activity or a kids table or something for them to do. There's a ton of great nanny resources here in the Outer Banks that offer wedding nanny sitting services. That way, like, you know, your guests who are, you know, young adults with young kids can come and actually have a good time, have a date night. They don't have to worry about where their kids are. They don't have to worry about them tripping up a staff member or, you know, running into a catering cart or spilling a drink. It's just a lot easier.
Touching the cake before it's been cut.
Touching the cake
stealing
before it's been
donuts.
cut. Poking your head behind the cake cutting photo because you're so eager to grab a cupcake or
We
something.
love kids, don't get us wrong,
No,
but
yeah.
it's just kind of those things that you don't think about.
Yeah.
Like, and, you know,
And even if it's something as simple as just having an activity table for them
Yeah.
or something for them
they
to do.
get
that
bored.
definitely
Kids want
helps.
things to do.
Yeah.
What is it like being a new mom, having a business, and being in the middle of a pandemic?
Okay. Being a new mom and having a business, I would usually err on the side of it's a lot of work. Cut to 2020 and COVID-19, I've had a tremendous number of weddings either be canceled or postponed. So for me as a new mom and a small business owner, that has been, not that I would wish it upon anyone, and I was not planning for that. It has been a huge adjustment, a nice adjustment. It's allowed me to easily transition into motherhood and transition into slowly learning to balance the two worlds.
Yeah.
So I've been giving that opportunity to.
Because Fjord was born in April, literally would have like
Yeah,
sent Sarah
in the
directly into
peak of
May,
quarantine.
peak wedding season.
Yeah, so I had like 11 weddings in May of 2020. She was born on April 23rd. I planned to be at every single one. We had everything worked out, but I still, in the back of my mind, was kind of stressed just with everything going on, plus COVID and having to have a baby in an empty hospital with like no visitors, just my husband, which was super lonely, by the way.
And then
It's very
they
boring.
and you
It's very
had
boring.
0 weddings in the month of May because
and then
the Outer Banks was
everything
closed.
in May wiped out, pushed to 2021. So, and then also June. So I've really had the first 2 months of my wedding season with nothing going on. So I really had that quality time with her, and that
Like an
was
actual
awesome.
maternity leave. So
Yeah, it was an
silver
actual
lining.
like.
We
in
all
a
think of silver
way,
linings with
yeah.
COVID. It's been really difficult,
It
but we
was
try to find the
definitely a
silver
silver
lining,
lining.
and I think, yeah, for you, for sure.
It was
That's
a
so
definite
great.
awesome maternity leave, and I've never had a kid before, and I now fully understand why corporate America or corporate jobs allow for 8 to 12 weeks of maternity leave, because like it is really important, and it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot for someone to get used to, but it's been good, so that worked out really well. For
I have a
me.
question. What would you say like makes Sarah DAmbra photography different? There's a million talented photographers and you're like super, super talented.
Everyone's really good at it.
So it's like you're all amazing.
Yeah.
But what would you say like makes your business stand out or different than others? Or kind of like what's your ideal client? Like what?
Okay. We do have a phenomenal crew of photographers on the Outer Banks, and it is a challenge to be able to want to equally produce good work and also separate yourself, because to me, you know, the beach is the beach is the beach is the beach. Like, you have 30 photographers shooting 30 beach weddings, like that can all look very the same after a while. And so in order to be able to separate yourself from someone else, not necessarily that you're better or you're a lesser of a photographer, but you're different and you're able to offer this customer or this client the style they're looking for, while, you know, a very good friend of mine who's also a photographer can offer a different client their style. And I think that is definitely challenging at times. I would say I'm very much drawn to tangible, physical, like, products. Like, I love prints, I love albums, I love the look of film. I don't shoot film, but I really like the aesthetic of what film photography straight from the negative like looks like. So in terms of editing, I would say that we have a very film aesthetic to our finished product. We're a little warmer. I edit a little bit warmer. There's sometimes a little grainy texture to our photography. Those, I would say those are like, we're a little dark. We're not super dark. I mean, I know when you say dark wedding photography, that's a very like specific genre, if you will. I would say we err on the darker side, but not necessarily super dark. I would say my contrasts are contrasty, my blacks are blacks. My reds, orange, yellows are true to those colors, and that's kind of how we edit.
So you're not light, bright, and airy.
No, I wouldn't say that.
We're
We're definitely not light, bright, and airy. But we are warmer, darker, have a little bit of texture. In terms of like the actual working with you, like the photographing, not on the editing side, like our portraiture, I would say, is very intentional, with prompted candidness. So when we take pictures, I'm kind of a perfectionist. Every single thing from hand in the pocket, shoulders rolled backs, head straightened, not crooked, like all those like knick-knack little things I'm very, very particular on, because I want you guys to look perfect, but at the same time I'm wanting you to look natural. So if I say something like, oh, I want you guys to laugh, and you give me this like belly roll like cackle, I'm gonna step in and say, hey, like this time I want you to lean forward to the camera a little bit, I want you to look at each other, and I just want you to giggle softly, and that will prompt what is a candid or a natural photo, but it also is posed in my mind because I've literally told you exactly what to do so that it looks, we want your candid to look the very best. So when I'm able to step in and help you do that, it helps you look your best.
I think that's a great point to make. So like, I mean, I think that's part of being a photographer too. Like obviously the finished product is one thing, but I think it's interesting. Every photographer has a different personality and like when they're working with you, and so I think it's great for people to know that you really do offer direction, and you're not just gonna like send your client out there and hope for the best that they're gonna pose well. You're gonna help them pose.
Too. I don't shoot with long focal lengths. I like to be close to my people, except for 6 feet apart.
COVID.
Hashtag COVID. I like to be close to my people. Madeline usually rocks a 35, and I'm usually rocking a 50mm lens, so we're like within talking range. I want to be able to step in and move you around and get you exactly how I want you, so that way you look the most flattering and you're going to be, you know, happy with all of that. And then, you know, sometimes we get couples that I don't have to give as much direction because they are so natural in front of the camera, and so that's always awesome, you know, to work with someone who's able to just give me their best side without any help or direction. But usually we're pretty hands-on in telling you exactly what to do.
What's some advice that you would give a couple that isn't super comfortable in front of the camera and is definitely nervous about getting their pictures taken like this professionally?
Well, the awesome thing with our product and what we're, you know, getting couples to book is we include an engagement session with our wedding photography. So with being most couples not local to the Outer Banks, it's really hard sometimes to get people to schedule that engagement session, but I'm always trying to push it, like take advantage of the complimentary engagement session that we give you guys. one, I get to work with you before the big day, so you get your fears eased a little bit.
Yeah.
I get to see how you're going to be in front of the camera. You get to work with me and get to know me a little bit. It's a good opportunity for a good like client relationship opportunity. Yeah, and so I definitely say take advantage of the engagement session, because that is the number one thing that gets couples through, especially if they're nervous. And I hear that a lot, believe it or not. Like we hear, oh, we're so nervous, or my fiance is so nervous, he or she doesn't like to take photos. So doing that, once they get through the engagement session, like, oh, well, that was like 45 minutes of
Not so bad.
Not so bad, which on the flip side of your wedding, that's about how long I've got you guys when I'm shooting your couples portrait. So it's a really good indication of like how your wedding day is going to go.
Yeah. Are you team first look, team no first look?
I am team first look if we are not on the beach, in my opinion. That's just my 2 cents.
You mean like not doing the first look on the beach itself?
Yeah, so if you're not having a beach ceremony, let's say you're getting married at Elizabethan Gardens, or I don't know, Soundside, or somewhere that's not as harsh in terms of heat, sweat, and bright light and other people, I'm all about a first look. So like Whalehead Club or somewhere like that, or the Courage Hut Club. There's some shade, there's some trees. We can do a first look there. When you do a first look on the beach, and again, this is just my 2 cents, we have done it, we do it all the time, like we power through it. It's not like some impossible feat, but there are some challenges, tuxedos, suits, umbrellas, crowds. Generally a first look is done around the 1 or 2 o'clock mark in the day, so that's a really, in July, August, you can imagine being on the beach at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, like how hot that is. It's not so much, it's usually an issue for groom and groomsmen most of the time. They're just, it's so hot. And it's, as a professional, we obviously know how to take pictures in really bright, harsh lighting scenarios, but it's not the very best or recommended time to be able to do so. So my goal is to always give you the best possible solution, the best possible scenario, especially for couples portraits. So if we're having a first look on the beach, that just kind of doesn't allow me to give you the choice of me giving you, the very best lighting.
Yeah, like the best, so what is the best lighting? For
golden hour.
Golden hour.
Which is why you have to hire a coordinator, because they're going to be the ones who remember that your toast or your cake cutting isn't rolling into, oh, there's golden hour, I'm looking at, there's been so many weddings where grandpa's going on for 45 minutes with his toast, and I'm literally looking past him at this beautiful golden ball drop over,
running out.
and it's just gone, and then I missed the golden hour because,
What do I always say? Sun don't stop for anybody.
No, it doesn't. So definitely hire a planner who can keep in mind like the sunset, because obviously that's the best time for photos.
Yeah, especially here.
What helpful hints or advice would you give a couple planning their Outer Banks wedding, not from a photography standpoint, but just overall, like time of year, or just like any advice you would give someone that maybe they wouldn't have thought of, but you as a 10-year veteran, you've seen?
I would definitely say make sure that every decision you're making for your wedding, whether it be vendor selection or, adding a traditional element or whatever it might be, make sure you're doing it because you want to do it, as in you and the person that you're marrying, you and your fiance. Make sure it's for y'all. If you're doing anything to please anybody else, don't do it. It's only going to cause stress. You have to make sure that with the investment that you're making with your wedding and all the choices that you're making, you've got to make sure you're doing it for yourself, because at the end of the day, it's all over in 8 hours. You want this to be memorable, and you don't want to look back and think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that because so-and-so made me feel like I needed to do it. Yeah. That's definitely like family values and family's opinions are always highly valued. But I think just remembering that it's about you and your day and nobody else, and you don't have to make anyone else happy except for yourself.
Definitely.
You deserve it.
Do you prefer larger or small weddings when shooting?
I prefer small to medium-sized weddings, heavy on the details like florals and all the pretty objects that I can shoot. 30 to 40 people.
Yeah.
But also being a small, like, micro wedding, but having booked me for like that 6 to 7 hour range, because it gives me, I'm not just in and out in 2 hours. It gives me time to actually document the whole day, and I can spend a lot of time with the couple. But yeah, I prefer smaller, intimate ceremony gatherings, but for larger amounts of photography time.
Yeah.
Personally.
So sort of talk about like what you're doing right now.
Perfect. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a quick little silhouette shot. Normally at a wedding we would do this with a sunset or some sort of other backlighting, but we don't have a sunset at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So we're just faking it till we make it inside my office,
Which is so cool.
with Ashley.
Ashley and Fjord.
He's a sweet baby. Yes.
Yeah, so Ashley is just standing in front of a big open window so I can get a nice, pretty silhouette shot. So we're going to do this real quick. Alright, perfect. Actually,
Oh, that bun looks funky, but okay.
do you want to try it again? Let's fix your bun. Put it on the top of your head.
Okay, that just looks like weird.
Forward. Can we squat just a little?
Never have I ever been told I wasn't short enough.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted.
Perfect.
Right there. Alright. So, right here, I can show you on the back of my camera. Sorry, the screen is super dirty. My cameras are always filthy. That's a silhouette.
Okay.
Normally, we get a lot of really beautiful silhouettes on the Outer Banks with sunset backgrounds, and that's really like the only type of good ambient light we can get at a wedding in the evenings. But I always thought it would be kind of cool to do something fun and maybe jazz it up for a few photos and just do a little artsy-fartsy, a little something cool for the...
So we're gonna show you a couple that she's done like
Yes.
this. There's some like really cool examples.
Yes.
I think it's a super unique technique that she does. So we're gonna show you some of those too. And don't mind me, guys. I'm gonna keep stealing her baby because I love her. Yes.
So, and just because circumstances don't allow for that to happen at every wedding, but this is one we did at the Sanderling. You can see that it's a sunset right there, and then all this pretty splattery stuff were different photos overlaid in camera, shot at different focal lengths of Edison lights. So these Edison lights are obviously really out of focus. These tiny, more speckly ones are Edison lights that are in focus. This is another one we did. This was at the Village Beach Club, and instead of using Edison lights, we used a DJ's colorful DJ light thing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Which was kind of fun.
And you do all of these in camera.
I mean, it's edited on the computer, but
Right.
like in terms of the silhouette and the lights, that's all done in camera.
It's really cool.
So you just like add different layers in Photoshop, or what is it?
I take one photo on top of another, on top of another, on top of another until I get it right, and then I just edit the color or get it to look like my signature look in terms of editing. But these colors are not, they're actually done in camera, those lights there. Let's see, and then this is another one. We just did this one the other night. We used candles instead of lighting.
That's so cool.
Super cool. Wait, so what is this?
Okay, so this is a number of
Where are
different things. Okay, so this is the couple.
Yeah.
This right here are some lines from the EU of the home, because we did it on the deck. When I was shooting this, we were on the deck and there was a house.
Oh yeah, you can kind of
behind
see from the
them.
back.
And then this glass thing right here, like there's some deck railing right there.
Yeah,
but this little
like
glass, this was like
this.
a goblet or something. So sometimes stuff like unique things should
Cool.
show up
Yeah,
like
just
that.
like
You
there's
can
so
do.
many textures.
And then we also do like a more traditional style double exposure, which can be done in Photoshop or in camera, but I always do it in camera. This is like an engagement session. Obviously,
Super cool.
sunset, that's the couple. And then this one's your wedding actually. Oh wait, hold on, let's look at this one right here.
Yeah.
That's a double exposure so.
Like a daytime double exposure.
Yeah, daytime.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep. So that's kind of an example of what we're going to try to accomplish today with Ashley's silhouette face. Just to show you how we do it.
Okay, so what's the next step? So we have my silhouette.
Yeah, the next
Now
step is to, we're going to take that picture and take another photo and layer it on top of that photo in the other room with the cool lighting. She's fine.
But not of me again, right? Because it's like,
no,
that's the one
image,
photo, and then now
yeah.
you layer the other miscellaneous items.
And all this is very trial. Like at a wedding, like this is not something we spend 30 minutes doing. I'll take a cool silhouette shot of, you know, the couple while we're doing portraits, and then while I have a little spare time or a lull, like while we're maybe during cocktail hour, I'll shoot like some cool lighting. I'll find some cool light source or whatever to overlay that with. And it's very trial and error. Like sometimes it works, sometimes I have to play with it for randomly, like I'll have to stop, oh, they're doing toast, I'll go do the toast, and then I'll come back and kind of work on that. It's, you know.
Do you ever do it in Photoshop later? Like, do you ever, like, just take a couple images
No.
and go
I know,
in
but
camera?
you can, it is possible. I just do it in camera because I think doing stuff in camera is cool.
Yeah.
I'm a better photographer than I am a Photoshopper, I think.
No, I like that. Okay, cool.
But everyone has their own methods. There's really no right or wrong way to do it. So we're just gonna go into our camera settings. I'm gonna turn on the multiple function, or multiple exposure function. We're gonna select the image we want to use. I'm gonna select it, and then I'm gonna put it into live mode. Switch it into manual focus. That's very important, otherwise it won't do right. And then, let's see, I had some notes here because I was doing some test shots earlier. The night light was 200, 160, 3.2. So I'm bringing my aperture down to 3.2, or 3.2. And if you want to come in here, you can kind of see the back of the camera. You'll see you guys can maybe see that orange. It's just my bathroom night light. So we're going to do something cool like that. And we'll just find a good spot to stick that on, and we'll go, hold on one second.
Guys, the crazy thing is that, like, she's literally making this happen in the middle of the day. Like, normally she does this in the evening or, like
I said, we're faking it to a minute.
outside. Like, this is so crazy. She's making it happen.
So that's an example of, hang on, my camera also lags, of one overlay. And so what I will do at a wedding, if there's like a bunch of Edison lights, I will just overlay and overlay and overlay probably 10 or 15 times. Yeah. And that's what gives it that, like, all those like pretty lights. We obviously don't have that option here. We're gonna do a couple more with this purple light here, and I'm just gonna take a look at my settings that I wrote down. We're gonna change our aperture to 9.
What's your favorite light type to work with?
My favorite light type? You mean like with this?
Yeah.
Well, Edison lights are always easy because they're almost at every wedding or strung somewhere. The candles, I was the first time I ever used a candle the last time, and that was pretty cool. But the one that we used, the DJ, all the pretty colored lights, that was really cool. And that was hard because they're changing.
Moving.
They're not like staying, stationary. All right, so we're gonna do that process one more time with this purple light. Sorry, my little...
Guys, in case you hear that in the background, that's her dog, Stanley.
And this is only showing up funky right now because that's an LED bulb and it wants to be weird. So I'm going to get real close and I'm going to put that right about there. Awesome. That's cool. I'm going to do that again. And see, for this one, you can almost see the real bulb plus the shade there. So when I do this again, I'm gonna try to get rid of that so it looks more like an actual blurry light. We're gonna do that again. We're gonna shoot over top of that photo again.
Okay, so I have a question. Is the original photo, do you just like duplicate it in camera so like the original photo never goes away in case you want it?
I mean, it's not duplicated, but it's always there. So if this was a sunset scenario, I would give them one image of just like classic sunset silhouette, and then also maybe one or two of cool ones like this.
Okay.
So I always give them like the original one.
They get the original. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
This might not be something you want to hang in your home, but it's just kind of a cool thing that, we try to do. Select. Gonna do that, and then put it into live mode, make sure we're golden, and then I'm gonna like get in real close and really put this baby out of focus. We'll just see if that will Give me 1 second. That's bringing in. Oh, here's my baby. That's really out of focus. We're gonna see what this does. Perfect. Cool. And then I'm gonna do one more, so it's gonna get real bright here. We're gonna do. I'm gonna bring my aperture way down just so that I can get a better. This is a very bright light. 16, 160, 200. Okay, so I'm gonna do that one more time. A lot of steps here. Let's see. And I'm not gonna go straight across. I'm gonna try to do something along these lines here. This one actually might take a few times to get exactly right.
So if you take and you're like, oh, I want those in a different spot, you can just redo it?
Yeah, and I can either overlay, like let's say that just didn't work out how I wanted it to.
Yeah.
I can either use that photo or I can use the one before that and try it again. But that looks okay to me, so I'm gonna do this one more time. I'm actually gonna use the night light again because I liked that purple, that red and that green. That was 232. Okay, I'm gonna do that one more time. I think. Okay. I'll just put it right there. I'm gonna turn that off or do that again. That's why it's so bright in here. One more.
You're like in love.
She is the best baby, I will say. And we're gonna do that one more time. Maybe we'll go like this and just do something unique right there. There, perfect. Okay, so that's like in a nutshell. That photo's gonna be vertical because I took it vertical. So you can see all the different ones that are in there. Oh, there we go. So
it saves each individual.
Yeah, and I had
layer?
done, before you guys got here, I had done some test shots with my hand, like trying to find something to silhouette, and I did like, that's how I knew what I wanted to do once you guys got here. So it saves each one. That's how I can deliver the original one.
Yeah,
That would be normally
added
a
layers. Maybe
sunset,
you
yeah.
needed one of the layers you
Yeah.
added.
Yeah, or sometimes like when I start editing it and I put like my preset on there, it just doesn't translate well, so I don't like the one that has so many over layers, so.
Super cool. Are we going back to the office?
Yep, so now we're gonna edit it. Please don't mind my home.
It's actually really cool.
Sarah's house is so cool. Don't let her fool you.
Okay. Okay.
So we moved to the office to the editing room.
The editing room.
The editing room.
AKA also my spare bedroom.
And Sarah uploaded the images into, what are you in, Photoshop? Lightroom? Lightroom.
And so this is just going to be a very quick, like, basic edit if my camera would stop, or my computer would stop lagging. We're just going to bring this here. And I'm going to do everything I can. You know, normally when we do this, you're not going to see, like, curtain rod, picture frame, airplanes, corner of a TV.
Because normally you'd be, like, on the beach.
Or
like,
somewhere where there's just, or you might see, like, a row of houses, like, kind of silhouetted, but not, it wouldn't be exactly like this.
Yeah.
There really was no other way to do this unless I wanted to drag you guys out at sunset, which I couldn't do today. We're just gonna edit this.
So this is really cool for everyone that, like, obviously everyone loves the photos of their wedding, but this is kind of a behind the scenes of, like, all that goes into it and not just, here's your photographer, here's your images that you received.
Yeah, exactly. And I might do a little vignette just to get rid of that stuff there.
Oh yeah, now the airplanes went away.
Mm-hmm. And with anytime I have lighting that has lots of vibrant color, normally for when I edit a photo, I don't increase the vibrancy of the saturation, but because you have such beautiful, like, bright colors, I might bump up some of those. The green's a little, the orange is a little. I need to warm my photo up because I'm a warm editor. Right in there, and then I'll bring the tint down just a little. And that just about does it. I mean, I could tweak and play with this as much as I needed to. And a lot of times what we would have is couples looking at each other. I don't usually do a kiss with a silhouette because it just morphs into one. It's hard to see what they're doing. Whereas if they're just looking at each other, it's
you just see both all their facial features. Cool.
Yeah, and that's pretty much that.
So yeah, final image.
Yeah. And like I said, this isn't something we do at every single wedding. It's really one of those time permitting, stars align. I've got, you know, a few minutes to play with it.
Like during dinner.
During dinner. Yeah,
something like that.
Usually during cocktail hour or dinner, like it's a little bit more or less structured for me to have to be taking certain photos, so I have the freedom to take pictures like that.
And be artistic.
Yeah.
Fancy.
It is cool. And this isn't my original idea. Other photographers do this. It was just something that I started doing because I thought we get a lot of awesome sunsets and a lot of awesome backlight, but it's cool to, especially when it's raining and you don't have the opportunity to do your full portrait series with a couple that you want to do, or if it's just not, or it's blowing a gale outside, like being able to offer, you know, a couple something unique that's a little artsy.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know that I'm doing all of this while I'm shooting their wedding is a neat thing to do.
It's like a nice surprise whenever they get their photos back.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's some of the coolest photos. They're just like different than your average standing on the beach. You know, same old, same old. I think it's a fun, like, extra.
Yeah. And then there's different ones, and you guys can see how I overlaid each one with different lights. That's a cool one.
So cool.
I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, it's super unique. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and this is all, these lights here, obviously they're out of focus, but I did that intentionally. And if you go back to that, like for this photo, everything was out of focus in terms of the overlaying. But if you go back to the one that we did at the Sanderling, you can really see which ones were out of focus and which ones in here were just, I left as they were. This particular, the reception hall there had tons of Edison lights, like crisscross back and forth. So some of them did out of focus, and then some of them we did kind of speckly. And just,
I think that's absolutely gorgeous. That's so
one
cool.
of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's a website thing. Actually, I think all these are. And then there's the color one, and then that's the one we did with the candles.
So cool.
The other night.
We want to say thank you so much for joining us, Sarah and Baby Fjord.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sweet baby.
You're welcome.
But thanks for showing us the cool double exposure.
Yeah.
We'll definitely share one of those on our Instagram soon too, so that we can show like that finished product again.
Cool. Thank you.
But thanks for joining us.